I was blessed to be a pretty important part of the rise of that show and of the TV debate genre in general. I was in the eye of those storms. I bring this up now because the writer who interviewed me over the weekend, Stephen J. Nesbitt, asked me a lot of good questions, asked me one great question near the end of our interview time. Stephen Nesbitt asked me, what if First Take hadn't taken off in 2011 when we turned it from cold pizza into a 2-hour all-debate show? What if it hadn't gone anywhere? What if it had failed? The answer is, I don't know. I was on my annual golf trip to Oklahoma City. I've talked about it before on the podcast. Every summer, since I went away to college at Vanderbilt, I go home to play with I call them my high school friends. They're really my grade school friends. Play golf. Lincoln Park, Lincoln East, Lincoln West. I'm going next week, as a matter of fact. And on this trip back in 2004, we're getting ready to go out to play Lincoln East. And I'm, as usual, upstairs in my friend Craig Humphrey's exercise room on his treadmill, flipping around trying to get something that I like on television to get me through my 1-hour treadmill. Down a flight of stairs in the kitchen below me, Craig and several of my other friends are all having breakfast. They can hear me if I yell down the stairway to the kitchen. And I'm flipping around and I land on a show called Cold Pizza that I'd never watched before. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't watched it. Just a couple of days after Wimbledon, they're going to have Maria Sharapova on. And I must tell you, I thought it was so bad because it was so different than anything I'd ever seen in sports television that I yelled down the stairs and I said, hey, you guys, turn on ESPN2 right now. Check out this show called Cold Pizza. It's so bad, it's embarrassing. That's what I yelled down the stairs. That's pretty much quote unquote. Would you believe that a month later, I was hired to be on that show, the show that I ripped? I was hired to be on it by one Mark Shapiro, then running ESPN, who called me and said, hey, I need you to come to New York and try to help save my baby, my morning show that we've created. I think it had been up and running for 6 or 8 months at that point. Mark told me that it hadn't registered yet in the ratings, that it hadn't been able to do above zeros. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he told me. Mark Shapiro told me the first time we spoke on the phone that I don't know if Cold Pizza will last another week, another month, or 10 years. And the truth is, Cold Pizza is still going now, and you could maybe stretch, but you could call it either First Take or Undisputed because they're both still the roots of Cold Pizza. So I plunged. I'd always wanted to do a daily morning show or some sort of daily TV show, see if I had the chops for it. And I pulled up stakes and moved to New York. And we tried to add a debate component to the show because Mark knew that was my forte, that was my strength. I began to talk to our showrunner at the time, named David Brofsky, another good friend of mine, about why I believed that those spikes were tied to 1st and 10, to downs 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down. And David didn't disagree with me, but he wasn't sure about it. But he did agree that we should have a big discussion about expanding the debate segments in yet another big staff meeting. This one was about to change my life. So we meet in our same conference room we met in every morning, except this was in the afternoon. Everybody was there, including Jay Crawford, Dana Jacobson, our very talented talent who basically ran the show and alternated moderating 1st and 10, refereeing 1st and 10, which was still sort of Skip versus the world in our our same rotation. And as I walked into the room, David Brofsky, our showrunner, waved me up to the front. He said, I reserved a seat right here beside me at the front. I said, okay. And David opened the show and said, and I quote, Skip has something he'd like to say. And I looked sideways at David like, what? I said, I thought you were going to run the meet. No, this is your baby. You tell them what you've told me about expanding our debate segments. Man, have I ever been blessed. Was I so blessed to eventually have Stephen A. Smith as my permanent partner on First Take. I hope you enjoyed that video. You ready for more? Make sure you click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from the Skip Bayless Show. And don't forget to check out the full episode of the show wherever you get your podcasts by clicking the link in the description.